Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Brooklyn, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast that makes ancient wisdom relevant today. I'm your host, Raghunath, and I'm joined here with my co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1340. It's Q&A day, everyone. It's a day that people write in their Qs, their questions, and we try our best to answer them. By the way, join Wisdom of the Sages for our spiritual pilgrimage to sacred India from October 17th to the 31st. We'll explore the holy cities of Jagannath Puri, Udaipur Nathdwar, Rishikesh, Haridwar, and Govardhan and Vrindavan. Check out all the details on raghunath.yoga, RAGHUNATH.yoga, and soon to be posted on the wisdomofthesages.com.
I said to Raghunath, maybe we ought to just settle down, just spend some time in Rishikesh. He said, no, we got to see all these.
We're
places.
moving. We're moving. You know, there's a sweetness to do both.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what Kaustubha's means is, like, we're going to all these places. Why not just stay in one place and just chill? And that there's something to be said about that too. You can go. Sometimes you can go very deep, but I think it's for people who are going to India. It's good to sort of see what India has to offer. I know a lot of ISKCON devotees.
I said, Raghunath, you'll make more money that way if we just sit down. He said, money's not the question.
Yeah, it's true. You can find some cheap, nice place to stay in Vrindavan and just make much more money doing it that way. But I really want people to have this experience so they get an understanding of spiritual India and the culture of India and the culture of bhakti. Because when you go to Rajasthan and see the culture of bhakti there's something that moves you. And when you see bhakti within its context of, of these old temples of India. And so there's something powerful, especially in northern India like that.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
I am up to my forehead with love for Lord Jagannath after yesterday's festival. We're coming down from this incredible journey that we were on yesterday. And for everybody who was there, a big thank you. We had an incredible Wisdom of the Sages, little booth, little table. People came, they made cookies. I didn't even leave my spot for the most part all day. We just sang kirtan, everybody just singing all day long. It was so nice. It was so nice. I saw so many people, and there were so many people I still didn't see. But I just kept on seeing people all day long were coming up.
That event is like you see someone that you have a really important relationship with that goes back decades, and you haven't seen them for 10 years, and then they walk past and you kind of wave, and then they go, and that's it. Because
I had
so
a lot
many
of those
people
yesterday.
So many devotees there.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
I haven't seen you in 15 years. You mean so much to me. Bye-bye.
Truthfully, I barely saw you yesterday. We were just doing our thing.
I had duties.
We were both being duty bound, I felt like.
Yeah.
But the kirtans
Q&A
were so
tent.
sweet.
They give you a microphone, and then they got about 40 people firing questions at you.
Trying to chop you down, or was it the sweet people?
There's always someone there. There's always someone. There was one character there.
There's one character there.
And he kept asking questions. I had to kind of get him under control. Say,
Okay. Well, I want to give a shout out to all the kirtan people from our community. Sometimes there's these star kirtan people, but I tell you, we had the up and comings here with the Wisdom of the Sages community. We had Patrick, we had Bunky, we had Kishori Gopi, we had Damodar Priya, we had who else was it?
They're like our people.
Oh, these were our people. It was so beautiful. Everyone just boom, 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 and everybody. It's Seth Lieberman. Yeah. People just losing their mind.
Seth Lieberman.
He
had his saxophone out there too. I didn't know he played saxophone. This guy's multi.
He's real. How to play these things, but it was just people just seriously singing.
And Jen Page and her violin. That was cool too.
And her violin.
Jen Page, Family Bhakti. You know what is also really cool?
What?
Is that we're squeezed right and tight next to the TOVP booth, Temple of Vedic Planetarium, and you had Jananivas there, the holiest, saintliest person, sitting
People-
right next to us the whole time, putting the Lord Nrsingade's feet on everybody's head.
Yeah, they take this. If you're unfamiliar with this, there's certain parts of India, they have these. Can't say, they look like, it looks like a
like a
a
Devo.
crazy crown, like a Devo crown, but they're like the Lord's lotus feet.
On top of
It's and they worship it on the altar, and then they take it off the altar, and you come up and you bow down, and they put it on your head, like you're getting the feet of the Lord on your head. So all day, right next to us, people are coming down, bowing down. He's putting this on their head. I had my 10-year-old turn over there, and I was like, bow down. He kept on bowing down, but these Indian ladies kept on pushing in front of him. He's like, and he's looking at me like, what should I do? And I'm leading the kirtan. I was like, bow down, get the hat on your head. Let them put the hat on your head. And he's like, I don't know what to do.
Indian ladies, they can be the gentlest of people, but when it comes down to like getting the mercy in the temple,
No, they'll
look out.
elbow you right out of the way.
Yeah, they know when to get aggressive.
Yeah. But it was very beautiful. The whole day was extremely beautiful. I'd love to get some feedback. Let me unmute some people here. Here's
Okay,
Kim.
we're never gonna get to the question.
I'm sorry, we're gonna get there. I want Kimmy Carroll.
Burn
Kimmy Carroll, I
up.
want some feedback from you. Hold on a second. Yeah, unmute Kimmy Carroll. Hey Kimmy, how are you? Oh, I
she's
can't hear
muted.
you.
Doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, you don't have a microphone here?
Maybe her
No.
mic's not turned
I
on.
wanted to hear her because she's new to all this, but she was sitting there singing with enthusiasm.
Yeah,
Kimmy, are you there,
Doesn't seem to be
Kimmy?
working.
Tim O'Reilly. Let's try. I'm sorry, Kimmy. Let's try Tim O'Reilly. Unmute yourself, sir. I know you weren't expected to put on the spot today. Let's see if we can get Tim. Yeah, unmute yourself, brother. Hey,
There we go.
how are
Yeah.
you?
Good. How we doing?
How was your Rath Yatra? Was that your first Rath Yatra?
No, I've been going since 2021.
Okay.
And
What were your impressions, sir?
I pulled all 3 carts. That was nice. It's always just nice.
Yeah, we had a good group, didn't we?
Yeah. I met some people in person from here.
Yeah,
Met Jake, my buddy Seth. He was in a Sage group with me last year. I met him in person, so that was good too.
There were a lot of Sage group reunions. People were like, "Hey, get in the picture of my Sage group." I was like, "Oh man, all these people know each other.
Yeah.
All these 2-dimensional people are 3D. That's so great." Anyway, glad you were there. Great to see you there. Okay, you look like you could probably sing, Tim O'Reilly. Next year, we got to get you leading the kirtan. What do you say?
Sure.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
do that.
Ahsoka Krishna, I'd like to hear your feedback, brother. Hey, Ahsoka, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good.
And you live in Memphis, Tennessee, right?
Yeah, but I'm from the Jersey Shore, so I'm
Okay.
a transplant. You know,
Okay. How was your Rath Yatra yesterday?
this was my second time, and the whole weekend was amazing. I can't remember who asked me. Maybe it was Sharashni asked me like, what was my peak highlight moment? And I said I couldn't pick one. We went to the Statue of Liberty with Chapu.
All right. Okay. Okay.
That's up
We
there.
had beautiful kirtan in Tompkins Square Park with Kasuba giving like a little class to some Spanish speaking women. It was beautiful. And then we went and had program, and then the day in the park and walking with the carts, getting to say hello and see so many people from Sage groups to the Italy retreat. It was like a really powerful weekend. It was just so sweet.
Kastuba gave a Spanish speaking class. I didn't even
It
know
was
I didn't
beautiful.
even know he
See?
spoke Spanish.
See?
Chapu
Krishna,
translated.
Krishna Supremo.
Ideas mío.
You know what they call Krishna in Spanish?
What?
They call him, is it like Senor, they say, right? Or something.
Senor, yeah.
Yeah, the Lord.
Oh, Senor is like Thakur.
Senor
You know?
Krishna.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
even
Thakur.
like Lord Jesus would be Senor Jesus Cristo.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Someone still has their mic on.
Kimmy Carroll.
Oh, Kimmy Carroll, I'm gonna mute you now.
Oh, Kimmy Carroll's mic is working now.
Oh, Kimmy Carroll's mic is working. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ashoka Prabhu. Love you, buddy. Kimmy, are you there? No, she's
No.
not. All right, you're back to muted. Sorry. Oh yeah. That it was another thing I wanted to say. This the sage group meetups, people meeting their sage groups for the first time in person. That was beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Oh, what? So, you already mentioned, but it wasn't until I saw the videos that I fully appreciated what went on. That you guys all went to that church and sang
Yeah.
the other night. Man, that
It was
looked impressive.
I think what we'll do that was really nice. It was not only was like the setting cool, but somehow the vibe in there was very high. It
Yeah.
was very high. And I'm thinking of doing the program that I did in my home, maybe just making that a yearly thing. Oh, well, we usually do a retreat at that time, so we'll see.
I don't know. Part of me wants to just join the festivities because it seems like the New York
Well, no, well
Yatra, the New
that
York
was
Yatra has turned it into a whole festival in itself.
that was the previous night, Raghunath. That
Yeah.
Thursday night was at Kirtan. Friday night was my place.
Mm,
Saturday was Rath Yatra. Today's Brooklyn Temple.
I know. It's unbelievable. So, what happens tonight in Brooklyn for all the people in
All
the area?
day. It's like all day. It goes. It starts at noon and it goes into the night. It's just like a Kirtan Mela thing,
Oh
different
my
kirtan.
God, you guys got to go. If you're local, just go to that. You'll lose your mind.
Okay,
It's
man.
worth it. All right, let's dive in. I have no more
Questions.
announcements. Do you?
Questions. Oh yeah, big announcement.
Yeah. Tomorrow's show,
Yeah,
6
tomorrow's show.
a.m. And who do you have on again, Kastua?
We got Vaisheshika Prabhu. Bring
Oh,
him
wow.
back. And he just released a new book called The Four Questions.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
someone was distributing that
Yeah,
yesterday.
so we're going to interview him about the book. But everyone take note. That's at 6 a.m. tomorrow. There's 6 a.m. people out there.
These
This is
6
your
a.m.
chance.
people are going to be happy. People have been asking us to go back to 6 a.m.
They were like
then-
6 a.m., but not on Sunday.
No, that's Monday.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
it's
then we
Monday.
have,
Okay.
yeah, 6 a.m. show on Monday. And then we have 2 days off because we're traveling and starting the Italy retreat. And then I
So-
think we're back to 6 a.m. again
Oh.
on Thursday.
Oh, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And so 6 a.m. people are really this
They're going
is
to be
the peak.
kicking their little heels together, their little
Yeah.
Birkenstocks.
People are saying that they can't hear me. Is this better? What's going on? I don't know why it's low.
We can hear you.
There, that seems good. Neil
Okay.
says good. All right, let's dive into it today, okay, sir?
Yeah, and maybe Nityananda Chandra can make sure we get that up on the calendar.
The new Wisdom of the
people can
Sages
see.
calendar.
Oh, look at Stephanie Berman. She's there in Italy, like just kicking back.
Hi.
Stephanie Berman, we love you.
She
So
got the
much.
glasses on. She's looking all glamorous there.
She's looking
She's
like
great.
Coast. Right. She got probably one of those orange-looking drinks that everybody has over there,
She's in Puglia.
but a
Puglia.
non-alcoholic one.
Yeah,
Oh,
South
okay.
Italy. Amazing. All right, let's dive into this, okay? Haribo, familia, buenos dias. Oh, this is from Chapuji.
Oh, we got a question from Chapuji's group, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sage group.
I'm constantly amazed by how Wisdom of the Sages serves and uplifts our community. It's truly touching to see the impact it has on people's lives. A question recently came up in my monthly study group from Ecuadorian yoga teacher. It's a very interesting one, and I'd love to
Chapu
hear.
has a thing called what is it called again? Oh, it's slipping my mind. Sangha, Shiksha Sangha, Dharma Shiksha Sangha.
And it's Spanish speaking.
Yeah, for Spanish, it's especially for Spanish yoga teachers, but for anybody that's interested.
Mm.
And it's like she just gives you new content. Like if you're a teacher and you want to share some content, she gives you like really content, and it involves like an exercise and everything too. Good stuff.
Hmm. Well, a question recently came up. Looking beyond simple cause and effect, what is the true essence of karma? How can we transcend creating karma? And how does this connect to past lives and samsara? Interesting. Nice question.
Mhm.
Looking beyond simple cause and effect, you do this, you get that. What is the true essence? Like, why is it there? How can we transcend creating karma? And how does this connect to past lives and samsara? Very interesting.
Yeah.
You want me to bake a cake and you frost it?
Okay. I feel like
Think
I like
about that. You like
And
that?
then
I
Mary's
do.
gonna
That
cut
just
the
made it
cake.
up on the spot.
Yeah, like,
Keep that, Mara. You like that?
mhm.
Um, we create karma every time we breathe. Every time we blink, every time we, should I go to the bathroom? Should I go to the kitchen? Every action we do creates some type of reaction. Sometimes you'll hear people say things like, man, imagine if I didn't go left, but I went right to go to the store. And because if I went left, there was a massive car accident. Would that have hit? Would I have been that car accident? And we always think like, what if I didn't marry this woman? Would I marry this woman? Or what if I didn't have that child and have this child? Or, if I didn't marry this woman, I wouldn't have that child. Where would that child have ended up? And people are just like lost in this idea of
Is that how you think, Raghunath, all the time? Like,
yeah. Well, you don't never think like that. Come on, if I was never married, I'd never have my children. Or ever think like, well, if I didn't have this sex that day, would I've had a different child than if I procreated on the next day? You know what I mean? It would have been a whole different version of a baby Raghunath. I think things like that on a regular basis. Like every little choice gives you some type of reaction. Now, of course, it's happening within the realm of this world of cause and effect that is set up almost like an incredible machine, where God is, of course, overseeing it like the owner of the factory, so to speak, but sort of detached. It's sort of going on by our free will and by the higher management of the machine, so to speak, which are the demigods. Now, when it comes to Krishna consciousness, yeah, and of course that gets played in not with our past, what we did last year, last month, or in our childhood, which is creating, how we were treated, the family we were born into. That's creating our choices today. I mean, sometimes we are haunted by some trauma or by some positive experience that's following us around to assist us in our choices today. Right? Sometimes we can't help getting out of our own way because we've had something that hurt me. People have hurt me. People have left me. I can't trust people, and therefore I choose bad people in my life presently. And sometimes things have gone very wrinkle-free in this life and then even in a previous life that it seems like we're making so many good choices in this life. You see people like that. So we are followed around by our past in every good way and every horrible way. And hopefully when we stumble upon a bona fide yoga system, it assists us to make a choice outside of our normal programming to just say, okay, instead of making a bad choice, which I do a lot, and instead of making just a good choice, I'm going to make God's choice. I'm going to make, what is the choice God wants me to make, right? There are certain choices I can make that are good for me, that make material sense. Like I'm going to marry this person. I'm going to move to this place. I'm going to invest in this type of real estate. They're like good, smart, level-headed choices, right? Then there's bad choices. We make them all the time. Everybody told me not to date this guy, and I'm going to date him anyway because I love him, or we just squander our savings on something cheap and fun or get into debt. Bad choices. But there is something beyond good and bad, and that's called transcendental. And that's what's happened to all of us. Somehow a spiritual realm has entered into our life and is giving us a transcendental choice. It wasn't just a good choice for a lot of us yesterday to go to New York Roth Theatre. Like, well, New York's a cool place. It's a fun place. It's a cultural city. Let's go to New York. Like, that sort of would be a good choice. We're not going to live there. We're just going to stop by, enjoy the place, and then leave. We actually made a transcendental choice. People were from well-to-do backgrounds, established professionals. They came around and they sat on the ground on a mat all day in the sun and sang songs. It was sort of like not a materially, it was like the materially best thing you could do. But we all felt very uplifted and in bliss, etc. So those spiritual choices start to change. You got a material choice of karma or vikarma. That means a positive reaction or a negative reaction. And then you have what's called akarma, choices where you are doing actions that give you no reaction. And what we're trying to do in bhakti on a regular basis is we're trying to insert Krishna into our thoughts, into our very breath, into our actions, into our hearts and minds and into our workplace. And a lot of you have been in this path. You realize this isn't an hour and a half on Sunday. We don't want you for an hour and a half on Sunday. We want every waking moment of your life. Krishna wants everything of you. He wants you to be fully reconnected. That when you're having a great day, you're like, oh, Krishna. When you're having the worst day of your life, you're like, oh, Krishna. When you just won the Olympics and your hands in the air
Oh,
and they're
Krishna.
putting a gold medal around your neck, you're like, Krishna, thank you, Krishna. And when you're like on your deathbed, you're going, oh, Krishna. When you're got chronic illness, you're going, Krishna, right? When you're getting married, Krishna. When you're getting divorced, Krishna, whatever it is, Krishna is, pumping through your heart 24/7. Once we get to this point where every thought, every breath, all of our good qualities are engaged in Krishna's service, Krishna is no longer a practice. It's part of our breathing. It's part of our heartbeats, part of our thoughts. And at that point, even though we're driving somewhere, you drive somewhere, I don't know if you've ever washed a car, you're killing. That killing you get karma for everything you kill in this world. That's just part
But do
of
you
like,
know, Raghunath, that nowadays you notice like it used to be you go out driving in the summer and your whole bumper would be full of bugs and stuff like that. It's
still
not
is.
anymore.
It's not.
Not like it used to be.
What? Really?
Yeah, to think about it. You used to have them all over your windshield and everything like that.
Why don't you anymore? Is there a bug?
Something's going on with the bees and the insects and the
Oh.
chemicals and all that stuff.
Well, you come wash my car next time you're up here. You're gonna get you're gonna find a lot. But anyway, anything we do, you mow a lawn, you're killing little toads, frogs, so many things going down. Just to exist in this world, we are creating bad karma. But when we start engaging everything in the service to Krishna, everything becomes akarmic, no reaction. And therefore, no reaction means no material body. Even if you do everything wonderfully, there's still a positive reaction. And that means taking birth again. You get a pious birth, but it still means a birth. In bhakti, we're over birth and death. We're over samsara. We want all our choices to be Krishna choices connected to Brahman, or spiritual life, and transcend the gunas. And therefore, there is no more material reaction for our actions. Kastuba.
Hand me the stick.
It's like a Raghunath bomb. Boom. How are you?
Yeah. So, it's a great question. It's kind of like this world, the material world that we're in, is kind of like a big virtual reality. And we could get lost in it forever if there weren't, if certain programming wasn't downloaded and installed in it. And part of that is the law of karma. And that's one of like the programs in the material world. And it has its purpose. It's kind of like the cosmic sensitivity training aspect of the material world. And the idea being that our nature is to serve with love. We kind of turned away from that to enter into the virtual reality of this world. But so that there are qualities that are consistent with that mood, that devotional mood, qualities like generosity and kindness and sensitivity to other people and so on. And what the law of karma does is it trains you to think and act that way. When there's consequences now for, if it was a virtual reality with no consequences, we could just keep doing whatever we wanted and we could go down the wrong path forever. But because there's consequences to the actions, it's kind of rewarding behavior that's consistent with one's nature. And it's kind of like the cosmic penal system for correcting behavior that's inconsistent with our nature. Cruelty and callousness and miserliness and things like this, it's going to make you feel the pinch. And so it's working in that way. And the ancient Vedic texts, they speak in depth about this, and they also show here's a path of, if you want to enjoy this world, if that's where you're at, then we can show you how to cultivate good karma and enjoy the good things in this world. There's still going to be death and there's still going to be pain, and that's the way this world works, but there is a way to kind of manipulate it as best you can. But as Raghunath's saying, is like, we're not interested we're definitely not interested in experiencing bad karma, getting,
N-
you know,
Nah.
getting painful results.
Pass.
And the wiser people are still not even interested in cultivating good karma. They want to, like you're saying, there's this transcendental plane of action called akarma. And it's the Bhagavad Gita that really speaks to, you know, there's different types of different kind of paths of yoga. You know, like there's Hatha Yoga, there's the Hatha Yoga Pradipaka. You know, for Ashtanga Yoga, there's Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and for Sankhya Yoga, and they all have their different authors and texts that are kind of grew out of the Vedic teachings, or or Vyasadev's works. But when it comes to karma yoga, the place where you go is actually the Bhagavad Gita itself. Right?
Mm.
That's where you find Bhagavad Gita has so many excellent teachings on karma yoga, on how to move through this world and not get entangled by karma. That's why, like, so many people write like business books about it, like business according through the Bhagavad Gita. It's because it's got so many practical teachings about how to live in this world and not get entangled in it, how not to get entangled in the law of karma. That work on that akarma level. It has a lot to do with with knowledge and the detachment that's born of the clear knowledge. And so there's several places we could read from the Bhagavad Gita that speak to this. But part of the question was, if I go back, let's see, how can we transcend creating karma? Okay, and so let's just read a few verses. This is from Bhagavad Gita, fourth chapter. We have that verse, right, 4:18. Remember this one, Raghunath? One who sees action in action, and inaction in inaction.
Yeah, that's a real
No,
confusing one for a lot of people.
one who sees inaction in action, and action in inaction.
This was my entire explanation. I basically teased out this verse.
This verse. Yeah, right.
But said it in a very sort of a simple way. But go.
Yeah, well, let's make this a little easier to understand. One who sees one who sees inaction within action, and action within inaction is intelligent among men. That means, in other words, one who sees inaction within action. You can be active in this world and be inactive on the karmic level. You're not getting anything back, right? That's the idea. So one who could see inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is on the transcendental plane. That's what Raghunath was speaking about. Although engaged in all sorts of activities. Arjuna was thinking not so much on that. He was thinking, well, if I'm going to get bad karma if I do my duty here and engage in this battle. Won't I get bad karma for it? And Krishna is saying there's a way to act in this world where you're not accruing either good or bad karma. So he continues, one is understood to be in full knowledge, who's, you see, like, to know that, there's a way to cultivate good karma by performing Vedic rituals and appeasing the devas. That's knowledge. I understand something about the background of how the world works. But one is in full knowledge. They got deeper knowledge when their every endeavor is devoid of the desire for sense gratification. This world is not meant for me to enjoy. That's not what this is all about, right? That's not why I've been dropped in here, is just enjoy this place. Like, no. You're here to learn. You're in college, okay? Imagine if you went to college and you just thought, like, you walked in the classroom, you thought the place was meant for you to enjoy. You're kind of like kicking back in the corner, and you're like, going through the teacher's desk and trying to find something to enjoy. Hey, this place isn't meant for you to enjoy. This place is for you to learn. Right? So one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of the desire for sense gratification. That's the key of that detachment. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. I understand what this world is. I understand who I am. I understand what the purpose of it is. Abandoning all attachment to the results of their activities. I'm not doing this to get something for myself. Ever satisfied and independent. He performs no fruitive action, no karmic work, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Such a person of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over their possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities in life. Thus working, they are not affected by bad karma. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, and who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled although performing actions. The work of a person who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Right? This is exactly what the question, is going to. How can we live in this world and transcend karma? It's all being spoken about right there. It has to do with the knowledge of understanding who I am and what this world is, how it works, letting go of the desire to make this world work for our sense gratification, and still be very responsible and active in the world. But with that detachment, you can hit this plane called akarma. And the Bhagavad-gita, just, if you read from Bhagavad-gita every day, it's going to start to sink in more and more. You're going to kind of start to get it more and more. And you take that into your life, especially through devotion to Krishna, like direct devotion. I'm acting for you, Krishna, not for me. I'm acting for you. That's on the transcendental plane, and you free yourself from that cycle.
Nice. Good, cool question too.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on, sir.
Something from
Your Senior Kostuba.
Senior Krishna.
So I saw this the other day from Anonymous. This is from David Houseworth on the old Discord thread. We had so many different platforms people would communicate with each other. The new website, that's the way to communicate now. I'm looking forward to everybody settling into this. If you haven't done it, check it out, wisdomofthesages.com. A lot of beautiful people dedicated their time and their energy to create this entire new platform from Wisdom of the Sages. Check it out today. And if
Join up and you get all the extras.
Yeah, if you'd like to join up and support us, hey, the podcast is free. We do it every day for everybody for free. If you want to support us, because we need support to go forward, then you sign up, and it's really appreciated. And those who have switched over from the Patreon platform, thank you very much. We're very, very grateful. So this is from David Houseworth, and he says, so I saw this the other day. It said, here it's a quote. Most important spiritual growth doesn't happen when you're meditating or on your yoga mat. I never thought my spiritual growth happened on my yoga mat.
Okay.
But I guess people do. Like, okay, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to do yoga today. It happens in the midst of conflict. When you're frustrated, angry, or scared, and you're doing the same old thing. And then you suddenly realize that I have a choice to do it differently. I like that. When you start to realize you have governance over how you react. This is huge. This is, I think, any deep thinker, any spiritual tradition, they'll say that this is what makes us grow, is let's make a different choice, not the same old bad choice. I used to be a road rager. I used to be I used to go right to fight or flight mode. Let me see how, and that never worked for me. Let me try a new way of being. So David says, I feel like this is a valid point, but my question is, when one finally realizes that they can do it differently, how is someone supposed to act or react when you're told you're being passive aggressive or placating? Is that the other individual's Maya, like their own?
That's accusing you of placating or being passive aggressive.
Is that their Maya to work out, or is it still the approach of the individual who is trying to change their habits approach? It is very hard. It's a very hard thing when an individual has their own Maya to work out. I'm not sure, no matter how much I try to change, I'm still left with me. I think I get where he's going with this. The idea is, instead of just like digging your heels in and going head to head and bucking heads with people, just trying to listen to them, I feel like if you're actually empathetic and you actually want to hear a person, they will know it. Another great reason why people could accuse us of being passive aggressive is sometimes we don't say what we mean. and sometimes we don't mean what we say. It's a very common thing. Say what you mean what you say. And it's sometimes hard because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So we'll say it in a different way, and it will come off in a very passive aggressive. Um, and then sometimes when we don't agree with them at all, and we're just trying to shut them up, they will feel shut up and placated. So when we are hearing them, that doesn't mean we have to give up our opinion, but we just say, well, I hear what you say. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I hear what you say. I can understand how you feel that way. I don't know if I'm hitting the nail on the head, Kostuba. That's sort of my takeaway from it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you if I'm understanding the question correctly. In other words, um, yoga is the real transformation is kind of grown out of the struggles that we have in life. And so someone says, yeah, I need to dig in and I need to change my life. And we're all rubbing elbows with other people in the world. And so sometimes when you get two people that are sitting together in this world and one decides I want to change, well, now something in the relationship may change too, right? And navigating that can be challenging. And I think what you're saying is right, that how you communicate, in other words, if you and I are sitting together and for 10 years together, and then suddenly I decide I want to change.
Like, I want to stop going to the pub. I want
Yeah.
to, I want
Yeah.
to stop
You're
going to the
saying that
pub.
it's wrong that I'm going? Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, it can be challenging like that. And you're right. It can be challenging not to deal with it in a totally blunt way. And even if you decide, I don't want to be blunt, then it's difficult not to sound condescending or passive aggressive or placating. So we here's the thing. We've got to we've got to transform and we've got to have the courage to make changes in our life. Otherwise, the time just ticks away and we just stay in this mediocrity.
Mm.
The human life's not meant for that. It's this great opportunity. We got to be willing to kind of like break out, have the courage to break out. And you're going to be doing that with, in the proximity of other people. Try to make that effort to communicate to them why you're doing what you're doing without being condescending, and that can be challenging. But do the best that you can, right? You do the best that you can, and then and if they still can't appreciate what you're doing, and see, I think I also felt this coming from the question too. It's kind of like, um, is that the other? How is someone supposed to act or react when you're being told these kind of things? You're being passive aggressive. You're placating. Is that the other individual's mind to work out? Should I just say that's their
Mm.
problem? He says it's a very hard thing, dealing with this. You, we're all going to have to make these important moves, these important shifts in our life. We can't allow others to hold us down. We have to have that courage. We should try to do it in such a way where we're being as sensitive to others as possible, as respectful as to others as possible. Let's be as respectful as we can be. And if they still can't appreciate it and they're still accusing us, a lot of that may be coming from their own insecurities, or their own ignorance.
Mm.
And that can be hard to deal with. Yes, it can. But you know what? That's the point where you got to grow the thick skin, right? Like sometimes there's a time for sensitivity, and there's some time where it's just like, well, you know what? This world isn't going to coddle me. This world isn't just going to open up the path to transcendence for me like it's a piece of cake. I'm going to have to fight my way out of this a little bit, and not fight with that person necessarily, but in other words, I'm going to have to bite some bullets in this world. I'm going to have to say, you know what, this is tough, and life is tough, and but I'm still going to continue. And you know what, I remember sometimes you and I talk about like our experiences with Radhanath Swami, and sometimes how he communicates to us without words. And it's in Raghunath, like also sometimes you bring up a subject that's just inappropriate or something, he just kind of looks the other way. But I've also had times where I've started speaking to him with some measure of self-pity, Well,
Yeah.
Marge, it was really hurtful when so and so did this.
Yeah, he won't have that.
Yeah, he won't have it.
And these people did this to me.
And
You're
you know
almost
what?
like,
At a certain point, he might entertain a little bit of that, but at a certain point, he's not going to entertain it. Like when he feels like, hey, it's time to buck up, kid, and a
right.
sadhu doesn't sit here complaining all day, and I see him just change the subject instantly, just like
I mean,
not
especially if
entertain.
you're like, for example, like person like you're on the path, you're really locked in.
Yeah,
It's not like you're
grow
brand
up
new,
now.
you're coming up and you're just crying.
Yeah, you
You're
should be better
actually,
than this.
we are sympathetic, to people who are going through pain. But at the same time, the guru is supposed to lead you and he's going to feel empathy, but he's not going to indulge you in
There you
your
go.
complaining and victimhood.
Exactly.
That's the mindset we're trying to
Commiserate.
yeah, he's not going to commiserate with you. Come on, that's not going to help you grow.
You're right. Yeah. So like that in that case, it
Next
might
time you share with me, I'm going to be like, you know what? Buck up, son.
but it is a fact, it's if we don't, we'll just we got to grow up. We got to
gotta
get serious
grow
about
up.
spiritual life. We got to just let a lot of this stuff go. So I don't mean to be insensitive with David by saying this, but take it in, see if it applies. See if it applies. See if it's like, yeah, you know what, you're right. It is hard, but what can we do? We just do what's right. There is really something to that stoic mindset. That's part of jnana, part of knowledge and attachment. Just saying, the world's not meant to coddle me. I got a mission in life. The whole world may be against me. I'm moving forward. There's a strength in it. If we allow ourselves to wallow in self-pity on any level, we really slow down our progress.
Yeah. It's understandable. There's certain things that will trigger us.
Yeah.
I can't do that. That's triggering. I can't be in this place. That's triggering. I can't. If you got so many triggers after a while, you're gonna live in a corner in a closet.
Right.
We gotta let things roll off us like water on a duck's back. You pour that water on a duck. I've done this, by the way. You pour water on a duck and it just beads off. It rolls right off them.
You went chasing after the thing with a cup of water.
I do.
I want to see if it works.
I have these beautiful ducks I used to just play with. They're slug eaters. Anyway. All right, let's go on. That's a great question. And we're on to our last one here today from Dennis van Limburg.
Oh, Dennis van Limburg.
Part of our community. He asked a good question because I always thought about this question too. He said, I was reading the Bhagavad-gita, verse 2.34 to 2.36. In these verses, Krishna says that leaving the battlefield will negatively impact the public opinion about Arjuna. And here's the quote. Others will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Chicken, like that.
You chicken. Like, yeah, and I used to think that too. I was like, who cares? And he actually quotes me in this. He says, but on the other hand, in the Bhakti teachings, we emphasize the focus on our inner world, as this is what we can control. The externals are to be tolerated. I think the public opinion is not within our control. People will love you and people will hate you, and it will have nothing to do with you.
That's the
Quote
Stoic
by
thing we're just
Raghunath.
talking about right now.
Quote by Raghunath.
But that's the Stoic mentality we were just discussing in the last question.
When discussing the Rath Yatra last week, Raghunath inspired us to be totally aloof to public opinion in our spiritual practice, right? We're all sitting and singing, totally aloof to public opinion.
Okay.
So how are we to understand this verse? Can you please help me understand the instruction that Krishna gives? Is it to consider the impact on the opinion of others when considering which action to take? Because this verse always stumped me too for the longest time, because I felt like, what do we care? What do we care? Why is Krishna using this to goad Arjuna to move on? So I just sort of like ignored it. But at the same time, when you're in a position like Arjuna, who is a Kshatriya, he's the person, like, for example, suppose I saw someone outside my window who's not supposed to be there and like hit the window, I need to
You
call a
worry
cop.
about this,
The
bro.
first thing is I can't be like I'm aloof to this. I'm just what people are doing with their lives is no, they're actually breaking into my home. So there are people that we call when there's trouble, right? And they need to stand firm in that. Now imagine if I did call a cop and the cop came and he's like, whatever, just let him do what he wants to do. It's like you need people in place in an organized society protect you, to look out for you. Who's someone who's got your back. We need that in different departments in a civilized culture. And if Arjuna, who was a Kshatriya, who was a warrior, who was who you would look up to in such a sort of a vulnerable position, you need to have them in place where they are firm and unmovable. So, yeah. That's because Rock. I'm sorry.
What's going on over there? Huh?
Sorry.
Firm and unmovable.
It's firm and unmovable. What do you think about that?
I agree with. Well, you know, it's an unusual, very short, just like 3 verses in the second chapter. Previous to this, Krishna was speaking on the Gyanic level, right? On Sankhya level. He's saying we're not the body. The body is temporary. The soul is eternal. It was like that kind of straight up, you know, Atma Jnana, right? And then he switches a little bit and he starts to speak from an apparently materialistic viewpoint. He says 4 things to Arjuna. You ready for this, Raghunath?
Hit me.
He says, first thing he says, you know what? Fighting in this kind of battle, it's like the warriors, they actually welcome this because it opens the doors to the heavens wide open. Svargadvaram apavritam. Svargadvara.
Svargadvar, the door to Swarga. That's what it
Yeah.
means.
So like that's like that's not the message of the Bhagavad-gita. That's that message you'll find in the early Vedas, which Krishna and the Bhagavad-gita say forget all that stuff, right? But right
Good
here
name,
he's preaching it.
Svargadvar, isn't it? Svargadvar.
Svargadvara.
Svargadvar.
And then he says, hey, here's an opportunity to go to a higher material level of existence. And then he says, and if you don't do it, you're going to lose your reputation. Well, that's a materialistic concern.
Yeah,
right?
that's a big deal here.
People are going to speak of your infamy. They're going to consider you a coward, and they're going to consider you insignificant. Well, a yogi is not at all concerned about that, right?
I know. That's okay with that. Check.
I'm going to be praised one day, and I'm going to be criticized the next. That's the nature of the matter. Why should I get upset either way? And then he sums it up by saying, look, Arjuna, there are 2 possibilities here, and they're both materialistic. You can either attain the heavens, or you can enjoy the earth as a king. So what are you complaining about? So why is he doing that? You know, and sometimes Arjuna was very confused. And he was kind of like, it's kind of like right at the crucial moment, he just lost touch with his duty. What's important for you to do right now? Right here, Krishna is speaking purely on the platform of trying to inspire someone to perform their duty. Not necessarily for the best of reasons, but for true reasons, you know? So he's realizing Arjuna doesn't seem, I've been speaking on the level of truth for about the past 15 verses or so, and he's not responding. So maybe I got to come down a rung on the ladder and just speak to him just on the level of duty. You know, just on a purely, I've been speaking to you about the spiritual, on the spiritual level. If you're not going to relate to that, I can tell you, even from a material point of view, it's better to do your duty than to avoid your duty. Right. But then he switches very quickly, you know, immediately he begins to shift it. And he says, do thou fight. This is I don't understand why they edited it this way. It's like the one place in Bhagavad Gita as it is where they kind of maintain this kind of like Shakespearean.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, my dear.
Do thou fight. Suddenly, like the bard stepped onto the battlefield and said, but when Krishna says, do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress. The previous verse, he was saying, consider happiness and distress. Now he's saying, actually, the higher level of thinking is you don't consider happiness or distress. You do it because it's right. Don't consider happiness or distress. Don't consider loss or gain or victory or defeat. And by doing so, goes right back to the previous question. And by doing so, you won't get bad karma, right? You're acting now on the akarma platform. And he says, thus I have described this knowledge to you through the analytical study, through Sankhya. That meant the previous verses that were saying you're not the body. And these people that are going to die don't really die. He says, now listen as I explain it in terms with working without fruit of results, which he's speaking about buddhi yoga here, or karma yoga. He says, "O Arjuna, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works." So he brought him right back up to the level of jnana, right up to the level of knowledge. And now he's going to attack actually that Vedic materialistic viewpoint by saying, what is Bhogaishvarya Prasaktanam? Those who are bewildered by material things, and they never achieve samadhi, which is what you're looking for peace. You're never going to get it. So it was kind of like an anomaly, those verses. There were truth in it, but it's not the deep message of the Gita there. It was just an appeal to Arjuna to do your duty. And sometimes we need to appeal to people on that level if they can't understand the deeper message. So I think that's the way it can be understood.
Beautiful. All right, that's our show, buddy.
All right.
We're about to
Get
take
ready.
off. We're about to go jump in a car and see Grandma Terry. Say goodbye to
You're
her.
going back to Manhattan now.
I'm gonna go back to Manhattan to see Grandma. We're only 15 minutes away, and so then we're gonna cruise, spend some time with Grandma, then jump back here, get our luggage, and head for the airport.
I'm going to pop into the Brooklyn Temple.
All right.
Oh, little bow down, mister. All right. You want to do that, man? Okay.
Thanks, Jerry, for joining us.